Welcome to day 2 at MPE Live. We're talking about transformation, agentic, payment sovereignty. Yesterday was all about those questions. Today it's all about answering those questions. What do you need to do to actually execute and make sure that you're ready, not just for 2026, but all the way up to 2030? My name is Dwayne Gefferie, and this is MPE Live TV. Welcome to MPE Live TV. I'm joined by David from finby. So for those who are not familiar with finby, can you tell us a little bit more about what you do?
Sure. Thank you for having me. So finby is an e-commerce specialist. We're a Visa Mastercard acquirer, but we're also acquirers for various local European schemes such as BLIK or iDEAL. So we focus on the facilitation of cross-border e-commerce payments primarily throughout Europe.
Fantastic. We're here at MPE, of course, very much focused on the European area, which is great for you guys, of course. And I think there's two topics that we continue to get questions about. Agentic is one, but I think one that's probably much more interesting for you is payment sovereignty. What is your view on payment sovereignty in Europe at the moment?
It is one of these topics where 5 years ago, you would never believe we'd be having this conversation in any serious format. However, it has come to the forefront, and there is a growing awareness in Europe that as much as we may like and enjoy the services of big US tech firms, or in our case, Visa and Mastercard, Europe is facing a danger if it's overly reliant on American technology and American companies. So there seems to be a real need and a real demand for a European solution or a number of European solutions. If we can't have one, we'll have 10.
Absolutely. And of course, you see companies like 𝘭𝘬𝘪𝘴, you see BLIK, of course, probably IPO in pretty much soon. How are you seeing the balance for merchants that you're dealing with? Is it still very much card focused, or are you seeing much more adoption from their consumers also with local payment methods?
At the end of the day, it's not the acquirers or the payment service providers or the merchants who really call the shots on how people pay. Your customers have your preferences. If you sell in the Netherlands and you would like to ignore iDEAL, you do so at your own risk and much at your own peril. So the payment mix is very country dependent. There is no one solution fits all. It's very dependent on geography, but it's also very dependent on the niche you operate in. So for example, if your business is subscriptions or you need variable recurring payments, some of the local payment schemes will just not work for you. Whereas in some other cases, they are an absolute must. So whether you want it or not, as a merchant, you need to have a market-by-market payment mix.
Absolutely. I think for a lot of the merchants that we see here at MPE, a lot of them are becoming more agnostic. You see orchestration providers providing their solutions. There's a number of them out in the market. You, of course, you deal with merchants directly as well. How do you balance that between what you see merchants doing on an orchestration level, as well as being an acquirer for Mastercard and Visa yourself and providing solutions directly to merchants?
The question of what your payment stack or what your tech stack should look like if you're a merchant is a complicated one. Yes, some merchants go to payment orchestration providers. There's some very good ones out there, some not so great ones. Merchants have to be careful not to sort of replace one level of complexity by a single vendor lock-in, which is a danger of its own. Some of our merchants connect to us directly, and they have their own payment teams, and they value and appreciate the level of independence and control. Some want to reduce complexity, and they opt to work with payment orchestration layers. We also have merchants who come to us for a one-stop shop, and who come to other payment providers as a one-stop shop, which is always a possibility, and then you don't have the issue of needing a payment orchestration layer in between. Naturally, if you want to have 2, 3, 10 different providers, you need to deal with the complexity in one way or another.
Fantastic. You're having probably a lot of conversations with merchants across the whole entire ecosystem. If there's maybe a couple of takeaways or one or two takeaways that you've had from this conference, talking to those merchants, what do you think what's the biggest thing on their mind, and how are you solving that?
The merchants overall seem to be increasingly baffled by the ever-increasing level of complexity of payments. So not a quarter goes by without some sort of a payment method somewhere popping up. Now, it's very taxing on resources. It's difficult for merchants to understand and identify the relevant ones, really gauge which ones are worth it, which ones are not. And the merchants keep asking us as an industry to reduce complexity. It's something you hear over and over and over again. And what we do as an industry, funnily enough, is every time they ask us to reduce complexity, we make it more complicated, which is something that the merchants seem to identify as an issue, and in turn they seem to be turning to providers with one simple ask: just please make this simple. I have a business to run. I'm not here to spend my days understanding payments.
Perfect. I love that answer. Thank you very much for joining us here at MPE Live, and hope to speak to you soon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.